Hey everybody, I am back with another video that I want to talk about because this is off the heels of Kathleen Kennedy, stepping down from Lucasfilm. And there are certain videos that I've seen and they're talking about oh well, like people seem like, and it's usually the shills, let's be real. But it's like, oh my god, it's like why everybody sit there jumping for joy for a woman losing her job? She was technically not losing her job. She's, pretty sure they had discussions and she like willingly, like, at least willingly or semi willingly, like back down. She's planning on retiring soon anyway, so losing job is like a bit of a stretch. But it's like, wow, they rejoicing like she's like the only person that has any type of control of what happened at Lucasfilm, or like put on the blame on her. Well, the bucks technically stops with her because she's the one that kind of is in charge of bringing in certain writers and directors, into this kind of fold. And I think that is more of a committee more than some kind of creative, or at least bring in directors who have some kind of creative ideas, who respect the brand and the history of Star Wars, where she seemed more bringing in, was so concentrating on bringing in, and it's just a personal speculation, but given the history that we got to build off of, it just seems to be more of a concern to bringing in people of color or women and putting it in our faces just to get brownie points because it's just, hey, like look at, how we are, just because of the state of things, where it's like, hey, we gotta you they was all in on this DEI mandate and stuff, let's be real. And it's not, that shouldn't be like the major focus on bringing in these writers and directors for a Star Wars project. They gotta, respect the material. They don't necessarily need to know the ins and outs of every bit of history of Star Wars, but at the very least, they would need, bare minimum, they need to have seen the original trilogy and know why it's good, and you know, and respect George Lucas and what he left in these guys' hands. Kathleen Kennedy, somewhere down the line, has stopped uh, honoring what George Lucas taught her and Dave Filoni and what he left them to take care of, hoping he left it in obviously good hands. But apparently, maybe at first they, they, it was in good hands and they handle it, you know, uh, you know, well, to a degree in some people's points of view, to a certain point of view, but they lost their way at some point. Maybe because, you know, Disney only see themselves as more of a brand and stop caring about the creative side of this creative business. Now it's just like, is more so run by committee and seeing uh, Star Wars as just content to just shove out. Uh, it's like, it's an old reference, but if you watch Good Burger and how like Mondo Burger makes their food and everything like that, it seems so processed and like, on a conveyor belt, and just, you know, you know, just press a button or pull a lever and like boom burger, boom burger, boom burger. It's, yeah, it's not like SpongeBob who he treats like, the Krabby Patties with, intricate care of each patty. Like like I said, is kind of like a old reference, but it's like a perfect way to uh compare of how Star Wars is being treated. Where at the beginning, even like a little after when George, sold the rights to Disney, he, spent a good portion of his time when he was in charge treating it like it was like a Krabby Patty. Each one was delicate. Not everything was perfect, but each one there was uniqueness, and by and large, people enjoyed it. Somewhere down the line, when he left, now Disney is treating Star Wars like it's Mondo Burger, where everything just on a conveyor belt and just rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. Like no creativity. You can say you got like a new foreman coming in and think like, oh, that new foreman, oh, he has a good history working at this restaurant. He will add a new particular flavor. But no, he's just there to just take a little pictures and shake hands, but he or she just have no say, or they just told the company line at least way too much that they needed to, and we just getting the same slop. And it's not solely on Kathleen Kennedy's feet. And I don't even necessarily blame the directors. I mean, like, you got brought on to be part of Star Wars, and you try your best to put in your own creativity into it, but there are certain mandates and that they probably had to adhere to, where it's like I said, it feels like it's run too much of a committee rather than giving. It's like with Kevin Feige, when he brought in certain directors for certain movies for Marvel. Now, of course, ignoring the shakiness of Marvel in recent years. But during the first 3 phases, whether you liked it or not, each one of those directors brought a uniqueness to each of their films to make them stand out. Now, they still had like a blueprint and an end goal. So they had to play in a sandbox, but it's like a big enough sandbox where they can make all these kind of sandcastles or slides or whatever they want in said sandbox, but they don't go outside the barrier. If I, you can use that as like a proper analogy. But Star Wars doesn't seem like they just too. It seems like there's too tight of restriction, where that big sandbox has shrunk to the point where the person can only do these little mini castles, and they all have to look the same, because if they make it too big, they topple over to the side off the barrier. So there's no room for them to do much. Now, then again, while we're saying that, some of the writers and directors are hired mostly because of their activism, or they've done work that's in the whole progressive realm. What was that woman who I think is directing the Rey film, who because it still digs into my brain, that line she did on stage when she was doing like an interview, where it's like, I enjoy making men feel uncomfortable. Might not necessarily been talking directly about Star Wars fans itself, but just past work that she did was more so about feminism and everything like that. And it's like, not to say that just because you believe in feminism, ergo you makes you a bad director. It makes you a particular director, and that's not something you want. Because I'm not saying like, there's no feminism, a feminist that never watched a Star Wars film, but it's just as I mentioned my video as I was talking about, Kathleen Kennedy stepping down. They need a blueprint and an end goal for Star Wars, just to steer it in like a particular direction, so it doesn't feel like they're just throwing things at the wall and only a few of them sticking. Like in Mandalorian and like very recent projects, they struggling just to try to justify the whole Palpatine's back. How did he back after Vader threw him down threw him down the shaft and everything like that, and the whole Grogu seems like the linchpin in it, explaining how he had the tools necessary to come back to life or rejuvenate or whatever. And it's like, if y'all had planned this out from the jump, it wouldn't seem so out of the blue, And I think it all started from Last Jedi. And I think, well, technically Last Jedi, but I won't go even just a little bit further back with J.J. Abrams. Now, I think J.J. Abrams gets some of the blame here. Like I said, it's not all Kathleen Kennedy's fault, but she definitely did all the hiring and picking and choosing for certain people on these projects. They definitely needed Kevin Feige involved, so that way, there's somebody, or at least like with James Gunn, he's the creative side, and then there was like somebody else, I forgot his name, who's more of the business side, but both equally respect the brand. So these two have a particular role, and they work as a team. Nobody's trying to overdo one another. And there's a perfect symbiosis. There's no symbiosis going on, and nobody around with the balls to tell somebody, no, we're not doing that because that looks stupid. And nobody seemed to bother to tell Kathleen Kennedy, at least we don't know, that, hey, this seemed dumb. I want to go this way. It makes better sense. And I don't want to add this because why I need to add all this unnecessary BS because it's because some kind of DEI mandate, it doesn't match or whatever. It's not something I wanted to tell. Otherwise, they might end up losing their job if they tell them no. But it's like somebody needed to go around, just like throw their weight around, because it definitely ain't Dave Filoni. I'll get to him in a second. But we got J.J. Abrams. He takes partial blame to this because everything spiraled because of him, because he just, I guess was, got too much things going on professionally where he had to step away from Last Jedi after the success of Force Awakens. There are a few people who did not care for Force Awakens, but by and large, it was a major success, and I do enjoy The Force Awakens. But he knew that he was, tasked. It's not like he was only going to do the one film. He was tasked to take care of all three films. So he needed to, make a decision as to put everything else to the side so he can put all his professional time into, dealing with these sequel trilogies. So at the very least, it didn't seem like a roller coaster of quality or cohesiveness. At the very least, he should have left some type of blueprint, or at least some bullet points to Rian Johnson as to what he wanted to do, or at least his overall end goal for this trilogy. And Rian Johnson, he takes partial blame in this because he just took it all in a different direction on his own. Like, I'm pretty sure you might have talks with J.J. Abrams, but he probably didn't listen to most of it, or at least J.J. Abrams didn't stress what, he had to do and what his overall plan is, because he was the director. Rian Johnson is the director too, but he wasn't tasked to making a sequel trilogy. If he was, then it probably would have been made more sense in terms of the narrative. But he wasn't. He was a placeholder. And you might have made some decent movies, Ryan, but you were brought in to fill in for a director who had to step away. You should just follow what he had going on, and sure, you can tweak some stuff to make it your own little spin, but by and large, you're pretty much like the substitute teacher. Just follow the lesson plan. He did not. So now this was the catalyst, pretty much. And this catalyst spiraled into why the Solo movie didn't get the support or love it probably needed, because it was an okay film. It wasn't the greatest, but it suffered the ramifications of the pitfalls of Last Jedi. And then now J.J. Abrams has to come in and completely, who knows what Rise of Skywalker would have been if J.J. Abrams didn't spend the bulk of his time just completely course correcting what Rian Johnson did. He wasted, that runtime for that. Just to, he's just playing fixer-upper. So the nuns, at least Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker, completely, incompatible. And of course, the actors involved are suffering from that because their faces are on it. And it didn't help that they also got, I'll say backlash, but, there are certain individuals that gave them crap like, oh, Rey's a Mary Sue, why is a black stormtrooper, or why is Finn just spend most of his time screaming Rey, Rey, Rey. Why is Rose taking sidetracking us onto this casino planet from the Sonic game? What's the point of this? Because captured animals is bad kind of thing. What? And because of all that, is blaming the writing and the directing, but they getting the blame for the writers and the director screw up. Now, I personally don't think they need to blame. And I think reasonable people, after all these years, have come to understanding that. But they getting a lot of the backlash that wasn't their fault, because they're just doing their job and doing what was asked of them. But, the woman who had to play Rose, had to shut down her Twitter because she's getting bullying going on. And it's like, yeah, if you would have initially had good writing at first and followed a particular blueprint, her little moment wouldn't have been stepped on by people who watched the film. As she unnecessarily got the brunt of your screw up. Like I said, I don't think I don't say any of the actors gets blamed. There's at least a few of them, or maybe at least one in particular, that definitely needed to get at least a bit of blame in this overall debacle, but we haven't gotten to her yet. But Dave Filoni definitely deserves blame, because sure, you can argue him, and I think by the barest minimum, blame should go to Jon Favreau. Not on the creators, because I think Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau, out of everybody involved in this Lucasfilm stuff, they're like the two primary ones, at least that we can see, because their faces almost everywhere. They at least know the material, know the history, respect the material. But the problem on their side of things is, and the blame that I give to them, which I think is fair, is the fact that you have some level of authority here. You can easily tell Kathleen Kennedy, no, I'm not hiring this director. I'm not hiring Leslie Headland for, A, I'm not hiring her for a Star Wars project, and B, her idea sucks. An acolyte, where it's pretty much like a glorified therapy session for her, where it's just these like lesbian space witches that make no sense. Oh, what? Yet some different analog for the proto chosen one with these twins with a, you calling the Force the thread. Like, get this crap out of my face. No, this doesn't work. And just tell them no. And you have the authority more than anybody else to say, no, this is stupid. We're not going for that. I'm not even going to waste my time even shelving this. It's a no. But of course, Dave Filoni, I don't know the man, but it doesn't seem like he has any bit of balls at all, because if he did, he would have just, not allowed that to be greenlit from the jump. His name is almost everywhere. Probably almost the same amount as Kathleen Kennedy. So it might end up in an argument between the two, and like a bit of like a power struggle. But I think at the end of the day, his weight holds more water than her weight. But he just, I want to say he sat back and let it happen. We definitely let things happen that probably should not have happened, and it put them in a precarious situation now because of that. And I think he's probably learned a big lesson because of it. And now that she's stepping down, who they bring in needs to do a complete overhaul and come in with a plan that everybody needs to follow. Like I said, you have like a sandbox. It's a big sandbox, but there's a borders clearly. So nobody goes off the freaking reservation with some, I don't care if it's some crazy mandated DEI thing. Like, sure, if the story required, story comes first. I don't care about like anything else. Nothing else matters. I don't care about like, how like a woman needs to be put in this, like, oh, we need women in this. Yeah, we'll definitely have a woman in this, but I ain't gonna make it a priority. I'm gonna do some casting auditions for a particular role that needs a woman in there. I'm gonna find the best woman, and if she happens to be white, so freaking be it, because she's the best from the audition. If she happens to be black, I want to hire her because she's the best at the audition. We're gonna bring back the narrative that, just like with Skeleton Crew, Jedi are heroes. They're flawed heroes, but they're heroes nonetheless. I'm not gonna have them being discredited and gaslit the audience, thinking like, oh, the Jedi are just a police force that intrude on your civil liberties or some bullcrap. No, stop that. This is like a fantasy world. This is meant for escapism. We have to, unless the new person needs to come in who needs to say this, we have to leave real world situations out of this. Not to say that there can't be some level of influence, but if it takes over to the point where it's not enough story to allow any flexibility of creativity, like Acolyte showed, then it's not going to do well. And I'm not going to hide behind the shield of, oh, you're an Islamophobe because you didn't like this. No, you made a freaking bad product. Period. Not to say there's never going to be any bad product from Star Wars ever again, but at the very least, they need to understand there is story has to come first, and hiring people with merit. So that new person needs to bring in, like, come in with a new uh uh um some new rules here. Like, if any of you are activists or anything like that, you better leave it at the door. Don't creep that crap into our future projects. If you can't do that or follow that rule, there's a door. Not holding you hostage. You can leave. Find some other place of work. But we're running a creative business here. You're gonna follow my guidelines here. There's room for creativity, but mind you, do not try to take over with your activist BS. Wherever your political leanings are, leave it at the door. It's a neutral zone here. And Dave Filoni needs to be able to take the time to sift through, and maybe Jon Favreau as well, because he has some moments where he gets involved too. They need to sift through each project. First and foremost, a limited amount of projects. Don't overdo it with quantity over the quality. It's like, do a movie every 2 to 3 years, and a TV show once a year or once every year and a half, so that way you can have the time to put in each project with some love and care. Each project comes along, sift through it. It's like, let's pull through the script. This cool, this cool, this cool. This one's not cool. Leave that out. That seems kind of a little suspect. This might make certain fans feel uncomfortable. Like, whatever. Ignore the fact that these are your co-workers. You can be civil and friendly towards each other, or you can be friends, but don't be afraid to hurt their feelings. It's like, yeah, this idea sucks. Don't need to bring into Star Wars canon. And that's respect what George Lucas started, like Anakin Skywalker being the chosen one, and don't undercut his purpose into the overall story. Don't include a character that clearly was in the prequel trilogy and show him in 100 years in the past, to the point where it's like, yeah, you should know what had went on, so why didn't you don't undercut that all, because it makes it convoluted. It makes no sense. And having Wikipedia change his birth date just to like I said, gaslight people, thinking like, oh, that's always been the case. No, that's not always been the case. Stop it. So Dave Filoni, Jon Favreau, they get at least, well, Jon Favreau will get the smallest blame, but definitely gets a bit of blame as well, because he's a big man on campus. He can tell somebody no because he knows the canon. He's definitely had no excuse. He knows the canon. We don't have to exactly be dogmatic about the canon, but you gotta exercise some level of authority here. And it's like, if it doesn't make any sense in the overall space, or he can't make it make sense to make it fit in a way, because it's a creative business. If you're a writer who have a history of making material that were like a bunch of successes or semi-successes, but you've been in the game long enough where it's like, okay, you have the creative know-how to make something that might on the surface seems like it makes no sense, but you can make it make sense. But if you can't do it, leave it out. Leslie Helen definitely gets a good chunk of the blame, because what the heck was she's like doing with that entire show, besides just breaking the canon narrative left and freaking right. Hiring actors that she just likes, or people that she just likes that, believes in the same crap that she believes in, like her freaking wife who can't act for crap. And then the lady I was saying that I was about to bring up later, Amanda Stenberg, she gets a portion of blame. She doesn't have any kind of authority outside of her being an actor. But like Rachel Zegler, she needs to know, or at least has some kind of PR assistant or something to say, look, this is a beloved canon that existed long before most of us were even alive, and will exist long after we are dead. You pissing on it because your feelings got hurt because of some people on Twitter Space who's gonna say whatever regardless. You don't think Angela Bassett or Nicolas Cage haven't made bad films in their day? All veterans have, and that's what the thing is. They come in like these little Gen Z actors come, at least not all of them, but a few of them. And this is usually the ladies. It's weird enough, but they come in with this attitude like they've been in the game for 30 years, but they, by Hollywood standards, they just got here. But you carry on like with this self-righteous attitude that you didn't earn first and foremost. But then got the nerve to chastise the audience because they didn't just love you or love anything you say or love anything that you do or whatever you're in 100% totality. And with any pushback at all, you're calling them a racist or misogynist, or they're like right wing idiots or whatever. And it's like, that doesn't win you any hearts and minds with that attitude. First, second of all, you need some freaking self-awareness that you made a bad project. You notice how early last year, way before Acolyte came out, that Madam Web movie, perfect example, Dakota Johnson, Sydney Sweeney, who, well, I think Sydney Sweeney, like Rachel Zegler and Amanda Stenberg, is a fairly new actress. I won't say she's new, but she's fairly new. She's been in quite a few things. But Dakota Johnson and Sweeney have some self-awareness to understand they made bad project, and they have the self-awareness to make fun of themselves. It's like, yeah, and you saw how Sydney Sweeney was on SNL a year ago, and the fact that she poked fun about all the movies that she's been in, except for Madam Web. Let's be honest, we all didn't see Madam Web. And like, yes, that makes you charming. That makes you like, hey, you're based in reality, and you understand you took the L like a champ. And it makes you endearing. It gives you more, because you're so well liked and so endearing, more people will see that and want to hire you for projects. She's definitely getting like, almost, Sydney Sweeney is like almost everywhere now. What's the next Rachel Zegler, Amanda Stenberg project that's coming down the pipeline? Do you know? I sure as hell don't. I'm pretty sure there are, but it's very low key, because how many directors are going to want to hire somebody who going to be on press tours putting their foot in their mouths because they're hired to be part of like a project that's, probably has some type of notoriety, and you crapping all over it, or the fans who love it because they give you some monicum of pushback, or you making diss tracks and twerking awkwardly over this. Yeah, Amanda Stenberg definitely get at least a portion of blame, because just take the L isn't like this isn't about you. And you probably, what was the last good thing she was in? The Hunger Games, where she was like a little kid. Uh, she definitely needs like some PR lessons and some probably a little bit more acting lessons or something like that, because Lindsay Lohan did a better job playing a twin than she did. Uh, uh, so Bob Iger, the final person that definitely deserves blame, because he is at the tippy top. Now he's definitely probably more so on the business side of things, but he definitely needs to like understand that there's some kind of DEI mandate, which maybe at a time it was some kind of federal thing that need to be adhered to. I guess I don't know, but he, because he eventually going to be retiring himself, but he definitely need to like understand there's supposed to be like a symbiosis between the creative business from both sides of things, and you seeing like a person like Kathleen Kennedy getting some brunt of I want to say hate, but definitely some harsh criticism, and you gotta. I'm pretty sure he's not stupid. I'm pretty sure he knows why, and it's like, okay, maybe I need to hire somebody who understand this is a business, but also who they're hiring isn't none of their friends or other political leaning one way or the other activists into our it's like it's hard to say, like, I'm pretty sure most of there's in Hollywood there's a fair amount of people who lean right, and it's definitely a bulk of them lean left. But when you come to a business, there's a fair amount of people who might agree with both parties or one party. It doesn't matter. He has to like, okay, I'm bringing this person because they had like this amount of history of making great movies. Some of them not so great, but or at least hiring people that who's been in the business. Okay, we gotta make this a priority. We're gonna hire somebody who's gonna deal with the creative side of things, which usually is Dave Filoni. Here's the person who's gonna work on business side of things. Make sure you're hiring people who are good for the job, who has at least a few years underneath their belt, and bringing in people, and they themselves bring in people who got the right stuff. So you brought in on these projects, and we need a plan, we need a blueprint, and we're gonna have to follow that stuff, because I definitely don't want to leave here with Lucasfilm in a heap of rubble and ash. Because that's what it's looking like to a lot of people, rubble and ash. So we need to definitely course correct, because Marvel's probably on like a better track now, because they it still took them a while, but they understood at least a couple of years ago, okay, we need to steer this, we need to like roll it back a bit. That's why last year we only had like one Marvel movie, because they had to like realize, okay, we gotta prioritize quality over quantity. So just throwing everything out there, expect everybody to just gobble it up and think it's good. Lucasfilm is starting to probably understand that now, and it's like, okay, we need a plan. Start making too much of this product where it's it doesn't make any sense and it doesn't seem cohesive, and it's just limited amount of stuff. Utilize the Legends material. They're right there. You can mine plenty of stories for movies and TV shows for all the live long day. They're right there. You don't have to come up with some wacky thing like an Acolyte. Just well, I say that Andor in of itself is something brand new that wasn't part of the canon material, but it was good and great writing and smart directing. Now, like I said, Kathleen Kennedy, technically she brought this director on for Andor, so and it was a success. So like I said, she doesn't get the totality of the blame. She definitely deserves maybe 80% of the blame, because technically the buck stops with her. So she also needs to, well, all the people, at least Jon Favreau, Bob Iger, Kathleen Kennedy, and Dave Filoni, all of them need to because I know the next Star Wars things coming up, where they're probably gonna be announcing new stuff going forward, and definitely who's gonna probably replace Kathleen Kennedy. They all need to just swallow their pride and just talk with the audience like real people, and just, which I doubt, it's Hollywood. They want they almost never want to take blame for anything like that. It's like it will let it pass, and then we'll change change some things behind the scene, but never admit fault. It's kind of like politics, and politicians who their PR teams never admit blame, sir. It's not a good look. Whatever. But they need to swallow their pride and admit we made some decisions that we thought was right at the time, but come to realize, probably shouldn't have went that way or leaned too hard into it that way, because now it's hurting the brand, which you guys love and revere so much, and have to consume it. All of us are not the only ones that consuming it. We're producing product that you guys will want to love. Nobody wants to hate this. Not even just with Star Wars. Nobody wants to come out to a movie theater or turn on a streaming platform or turn on a cable channel to watch a TV show or a movie and walking in, man, I hope I hate this. No. We actually want to give you the benefit of the doubt. We want to love, we want to be pleasantly surprised by the Acolyte like we did with Andor. But you guys are not working as a cohesive team. Acknowledge that you effed up. Or at least maybe not in harsh words, but just acknowledge that, we probably shouldn't have, went so hard with, this progressive narrative. We're going to start hiring people on merit. And we're going to limit the amount of projects we're going to be putting out, so we can give each of these things the time that it needs. So when we do put it out, you guys can start enjoying it, and we can earn your trust and goodwill back again. Because that's what you need to do. It's kind of like with politicians. You technically work for us, because we're the ones who consume your product. If the vast majority of the people saying Star Wars has been sucking for a very long time, you need to make the necessary changes, because we vote with our wallets. And I'm pretty sure even Bob Iger is getting hit a little bit. So those are the people that I'm listening that definitely deserve the blame, and they need to walk up on May the 4th, go on these stages and just be real people, acknowledge your faults, and list out the stuff that you had planned out that would probably help course correct. That's what you need to do. And people, at the very least, maybe not believe you right away, but definitely at least respect the fact that you was real with them, and we'll just watch you and see if the changes hold any weight to it. And after 3-4 projects down the line, and we see less preachy activism in our material, and there's a cohesive story going along, then we'll be more inclined to buy what you're selling, so to speak. Now, we're still probably going to get a little bit of that. Let's be real, because The Ray movie, I'm pretty sure, not sure if it's in production right now, but I'm pretty sure he still had time to make the change in writing. But Mandalorian Grogu, I don't know. But we might still feel some of that old guard messaging BS somewhere in that, because the last season of The Mandalorian was garbage. Not as bad as Acolyte. That is a whole nother field of bad, but definitely need to pick and choose the right material, and definitely be smarter of who you're hiring to direct such projects. Whew. But I'm curious to know what you guys think. Like, is the, how would you dole out the blame? Because, like I said, yeah, sure. To be fair, Kathleen Kennedy don't deserve all the blame. There's plenty of blame to go around in the higher positions. But anyway, I will see you guys in a little bit with some reviews I got coming up. But leave a comment below. Let me know what you guys think of the state of Lucasfilm, and do you believe that Kathleen Kennedy deserve all the blame, or some of the blame, or 80% of the blame? Like, how you dole it out. And I will see you all soon. Take care.